protection from deception. You forecast into the future. The Rundown Live. Kristan T. Your protection from deception.
Flock cameras are not just crime deterrents. They are watching you, they are logging you, even if you do not commit a crime. They have systems that log your license plate, your vehicle details, the time that you were there, the location. They can catalog your make, model, color, bumper stickers, roof racks, even visible damage to your vehicle down to scratches and dents. And then they store that data in searchable databases used by police and other three-letter agencies across the country. That is not just crime prevention. That is mass surveillance being marketed to us as safety.
If you're wondering what flock cameras are capable of, I've compiled a list and it's pages long. So sit the fuck down. As we already know, they track everything. They track your license plate, the make, model, color of your vehicle, the year of your vehicle, any distinguishing marks, bumper stickers, dents, rust spots, scratches, doesn't matter. They will track your vehicle and they will start to learn your routine from the minute you leave your house, where you go, because there's multiple cameras. They'll watch for you, follow your routes, and then they will tell when you get home. They'll establish a routine, all that fun stuff. But there's way more. Now have the ability to recognize the way that you walk. So if you, for whatever reason, were to accidentally destroy one of them, throw a bunch of rocks in one of your shoes or something so it makes you walk with a messed up limp so that they can't recognize you by your walk. They say they don't have facial recognition, but that's bullshit. It's run by AI. We all know there's facial recognition in those things. If there was no facial recognition, then why would it be absolutely necessary to wear infrared blocking glasses anytime you approach one of them so that it can't scan your retinas? I've even heard people say that regular face masks, like ski masks, won't work because it can still distinguish your facial features even with one of those on. So aside from memorizing your vehicle and your routine, it also starts to memorize passengers in those vehicles. And it now has a convoy alert where it will tell local law enforcement if you have another vehicle that you often travel with, another vehicle that you frequently meet up with, or somebody who tends to follow behind you a lot. If you go anywhere near one of these things with a device that has access to any network and it belongs to you, they will know it was you whether they see you on the camera or not, because those cameras have the ability of pinging off of the device in your pocket and finding out who the owner of that device is. Even if you're in the camera's blind spot, it can still place you at the scene. This is going to be a multi-part video because I have to go to work in literally 3 minutes. I have to leave my house and I do not have time to go over all of this today. I'll be posting this and then I will finish the next however many parts it takes to give you all of the information that I have gathered on these cameras. One more parting thing about these cameras before I do go for the day is that since they are run by AI, the police can actually go up to their database for flock cameras and type in green hatchback with roof rack and a dent above the passenger tail light, and it will bring up every account that specific car was caught on camera on any flock camera anywhere at any given time.
A Milwaukee cop just resigned after using flock cameras to stalk a woman he was dating. He ran her plate 179 times in 2 months. According to the Institute for Justice, this is happening all over the country. They've documented at least 14 cases of officers using license plate readers to stalk romantic partners, exes, and in one case, a complete stranger a Florida deputy spotted on a TV set and decided to pull over. A Kansas police chief ran his ex-girlfriend's plate over 200 times. A Kentucky officer tracked an ex hundreds of times in 2 months. Every single one of these searches was logged as an investigation. The Milwaukee cop only got caught because his victims looked themselves up on a public website called Have I Been Flocked?
At the Chula Vista, California Police Department, more officers are getting out of the station and into the streets. The department uses an AI tool called Axon Draft One, technology that helps officers generate police reports in minutes.
Overall, just an incredible enhancement to the way we're doing police work.
We got a behind-the-scenes look at how the AI works, reading from a script in a controlled environment. I pretended I was reporting a robbery.
The rear passenger small window was smashed. Any witnesses or cameras? I didn't see anyone.
It generates a transcript from the audio of an officer's body-worn camera.
How long does it normally take to write a police report? We're looking at an hour, 2 hours for the average report. This can save us at least 45 minutes on most cases.
Sergeant Priscilla Gratton says it's still the officer's responsibility to correct any mistakes.
This is what we remind them of. You want to check it because you're the one who's going to be the one presenting this information in the future and testifying to it.
Police reports play an integral part in the criminal justice process, which is why organizations like the ACLU are warning about the technology's early adoption.
In the name of efficiency, we are making it okay to monitor people 24/7.
Angel Diaz is a professor at LMU Law School.
The data might be collected for one purpose, but might then subsequently be used for a very different purpose.
In a statement, Axon, the maker of Draft One, tells NBC News in part, it does not sell customer data and any sharing occurs only at the explicit direction of the agency, and that it does not use customer data to train AI systems by default.
Something there.
Chula Vista Police say using Draft One is proactive.
Our mindset has been about forward thinking. How can we serve the community better? And that comes with using technology and being open to technologies that exist or that are coming in.
New technology already starting to shape modern policing. Camila Bernal, NBC News, Chula Vista, California.
ADL just announced their new anti-Semitic incident reporting map that just so happens to overlay perfectly with Flock AI's digital surveillance. I wonder what ethnicity their largest investor was. Oh, shocker. You might be asking yourself, what could get you on this list? Oh, just things like saying you hate the Antichrist. None of this comes as a surprise when our elected officials like Tel Aviv Ted here say Christ is king is the same thing as saying this. The reality is Flock AI has already been implemented across the country. They partner with over 5,000 police departments to send your personal information directly to them. If you speak out against Big Brother, guess who's going to come knocking on your door? Pair that with our new AI car laws, and if you speak out against you know who, your car will just stop and it'll pull you off on the side of the road waiting for authorities to show up. Just another reminder that they can track and trace millions of us, but refuse to actually go after any real criminals. Are we awake yet?
This is our cold water pressure in the kitchen. This is where I fill up water for storage. Those are the things we have to fill up to flush the toilets.
So you can see the sediment from the data center. Wow, and that's just from the water coming out of your faucet.
Yeah, and this is what's in all the pipes.
Just the well itself is probably $20,000, and that's not counting any of the
all
faucets.
The replacement of the fixtures and faucets and toilets and the lines that come underneath the house. It's overwhelming because you really feel like you are up against this huge wall that you can't penetrate. There's nothing that you can do.
An AI data center used 29 million gallons of water before anyone noticed. People were being told to conserve water. Meanwhile, something was quietly draining millions behind the scenes. Not for a city, not for agriculture, for machines. Because the systems powering AI don't just run on code. They run on electricity, land, and water, real-world resources. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. When something becomes important enough, rules start bending, oversight gets weaker, accountability fades. Because suddenly, it's no longer just technology, it becomes infrastructure. And once that happens, the real question isn't how powerful AI is. It's what we're willing to give up to keep it running, which makes that first question even stranger. How did something this big go unnoticed in the first place?
You say in your book that mind-controlled slaves were permitted any drug except marijuana. Why? It's an excellent question. The effects of marijuana on the brain are not conducive to mind control.
It doesn't mean you can't be traumatized and put under mind control. It just means it screws up the programming.
Because it actually opens neuron pathways in the brain. It expands thought. I'm not going to stand here and speak pro-marijuana because...
No, because somebody be putting it in my car and popping me for it.
But I am anti-marijuana because we see all these ads on TV and everything, and even Dole and Clinton in their campaigns are saying, what's it Dole said, guns, violence, and marijuana, you know, as if it's so violent, because it is not conducive to mind control. They want it off the streets more than they want their drugs, like cocaine, off the street. Marijuana is especially targeted. I don't promote the use of marijuana as a Band-Aid for mind control because, again, knowledge is our only defense against it.
You're listening to the Rundown Live. Your protection from deception and your forecast into the future.
And because of this administration, we are tonight a world divided. We are a nation becalmed. We have lost the brisk pace of diversity and the genius of individual creativity. We are plodding along at a pace set by centralized planning, red tape, rules without responsibility, and regimentation without recourse.
Madam Speaker, I have a few questions for my colleagues. What if our foreign policy of the past century is deeply flawed and has not served our national security interests? What if we wake up one day and realize that the terrorist threat is a predictable consequence of our meddling in the affairs of others and has nothing to do with us being free and prosperous?
To be fair, we had helped to create the problem we're now fighting. How? Because when the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan, we had this brilliant idea that we were going to come to Pakistan and create a force of mujahideen, equip them with Stinger missiles and everything else to go after the Soviets inside Afghanistan.
Promised of being one of the most effective treatments for AIDS and cancer in history. Now it's gone, and one of the most respected research facilities in the country is being blamed.
Participation in a process that validates an establishment that never meaningfully changes. What if that establishment doesn't want and doesn't have the consent of the governed? What if the two-party system was actually a mechanism used to limit so-called public opinion? What if there were more than two sides to every issue, but the two parties wanted to box you into a corner, one of their corners?
Censored by the mainstream media, the destroyer of fake news, and your host of the Rundown Live, Kristan T. Harris.
You're listening to the Rundown Live, rundownlive.com. I'm your host with the most, Kristan T. Harris, bringing you truth bombs from all over the internet. Boy, I'm glad to be back. We got a great guest lined up for us today. We got a lot to cover. It's been a while since I've been on air. As you guys know, we've been doing a lot of coverage of the news here, and Kristan T. Harris, I'm talking about myself in the third person here like I'm Yoda or something. I've been doing a lot. So, I've been... kind of covering different news stories, been doing a lot of reporting. So first of all, I got to shout out Ground Zero Plus. Make sure you guys are checking out Ground Zero Plus and supporting us there. You can get the audio stream on an app called On-Air Disclosure. So go to the Google Play Store and look for On-Air Disclosure Talk Radio. You can get the audio broadcast, which includes me, Steve Poikonen, who's our guest today, AM Wake Up. Clyde Lewis is on there. Ryan Gable, Ryder Lee. It's a great network, man. This network is turning into something awesome. I'm really excited. David Knight is joining us. There's all these speakers that are joining the whole Ground Zero Plus network. So if you want to listen for free, just the audio, you're at work, you don't have time for the video, you can go to the Ground Zero Plus, the website, and actually listen to the broadcast. There's actually a little play button on the bottom of the screen there. So I want you guys to know that you guys can go ahead and do that and support this broadcast by doing that. And that's Ground Zero Plus Radio. And it's pretty cool what they do there for us and everybody in the, industry that wants to get heard on digital broadcasting radio. That being said, we're also live on Rumble, Facebook, and all these different platforms. You can support this broadcast easily by sharing, by commenting, disrupting the algorithms, and really letting your friends know to tune in. We are cataloged on Spotify. We're on YouTube, but don't tell anyone because we've been banned on YouTube a whole bunch of times. All of a sudden, we seem to be getting some reach on there. We had a video go viral as well as on X. So make sure you follow me, Kristan T. Harris, on X. And as you guys can tell by the intro of today's show, we have a lot to talk about. Flock cameras are taking over the nation. The surveillance state that we were told that would never happen, that you were a tinfoil hatter if you ever thought that the government would put cameras on the street corners. And here we are listening to the government defend the idea that, yeah, we need flock cameras. And for most listeners out there, they're like, well, I know that they have cameras on the street corners, but do you know how they use them? Because it's kind of crazy once you start thinking about the amount of power that we're giving law enforcement to have access to our daily trends, every place we go, the people we hang out with, the frequency we hang out with those people. And let's say you commit a crime, you get pulled over for passing a cop too fast or too slow or whatever. They're just having a bad day. Their boyfriend or girlfriend is bitching at them and they decide to pull you over. Well, they can get your plate and put it into this little, database, and then it pulls up every stoplight that your vehicle may have stopped at. I mean, everything. Remember that one time you decided to go to the gentleman's club and, maybe you didn't tell your wife, or maybe your wife decided to visit an old boyfriend who's just a friend, but nothing serious happened in their own privacy, and go and do those things. It's crazy to me to think about that the government has access to those things. Not only that, they know who you're hanging out with, how often, where you're going with them, right? And not only that, they can access then your websites and your trends. They can know what your purchases are, what you're buying, what you're not buying. It's a crazy surveillance state, and it's here. And people are like, meh. Recently a cop in Milwaukee just got fired because he was using the flock cameras. Guess what he was doing with them? Oh, he was stalking his girlfriend, just like Stingray technology. You think flock is bad? Wait till you hear hear the fact that cops can use Hailstorm and Stingray technology to hack and listen into your cell phone conversations. It's funny. I used to be a district manager of a retail chain, and one of the girls that worked for me had a boyfriend who was a cop, and she'd always be like, he's listening in to me. He knows what I'm texting. He knows what I'm saying. I'm like, dude, you're nuts. Like this is way before my awakening, per se. I'm like, I know they have a lot of capability, but that's a violation of the Fourth Amendment. That would never happen here in America, right? But fast forward, we learn about Stingray technology. We learn about Hailstorm. We hear about all these different types of technology that are out there, and their ability to really surveil and create that social credit score about you. What happens if maybe you get pulled over and the cop decides to run your plate, and maybe you had a rolling stop at a stoplight? Maybe you accidentally pushed a yellow and you got a red light. Do they start retrograding tickets? They start, you get a ticket, you get a ticket, you get a ticket. What's the end? What's the end game with all this metadata collection? Because it's starting to sound a lot like Minority Report to me. So I don't know if you guys have seen this stuff. But not only that, we're paying for this surveillance state. AI data centers, which suck up a shit ton of water. They're messing with the environment. All of a sudden, who cares about global warming? Let's get the AI data centers. Let's get the robots in. And screw your water. Screw your water pressure. Screw the cleanliness of your water. And there's nothing you can do to take on Big Brother because they're in bed with the government or the agencies that deal with it. Not only that, the ADL potentially being in bed with the companies that are providing the flock cameras. Man, it's just crazy. It's a crazy surveillance state. And joining us here today is my good friend, Steve Poikonen from the AM Wake Up Show. Welcome to the broadcast, Steve, man. I'm glad to have you on, man. We got a lot to talk about. I've never had you on this broadcast, at least not recently. I know that we did the American Intelligence Report, but I don't think I've ever had you on the Rundown Live, per se.
Oh, well, it's great to be here, and good morning, and hope you're doing well, my friend. Happy to be here.
Yeah, brother, man. Well, like, I've been out of the game for a while. I kind of unplugged. Like, if you guys have been paying attention to my social media, I've done a lot of reporting. I covered the Massey case. Everyone saw the Joe Kent video that went viral. And then I'm shifting to going to Bohemian Grove, which I don't know if I should be quiet or loud about. But like, there's a lot that's happening that I kind of missed, and I'm like, what the hell are flock cameras, and why is everyone upset? I knew that it's a bad idea anytime you hear cameras on a street corner, but I'm starting to learn how the fusion centers and all the multi-letter agencies are working together, and it's just ludicrous to think about the access to power that law enforcement has. In Wisconsin, some cop just lost his job because he was stalking his girlfriend on Flock. You think that's the first time that happened? I mean, they're probably doing that all the time.
We've reported on dozens of those exact cases over this past year. I became acquainted with the website dflock.org in like February maybe, and it's open source monitors the amount of flock camera systems, and not just flocks, but the Motorola's and all of the other ALPR systems that have been deployed throughout the U.S. And they have a real-time progression or a time lapse of the expansion of the surveillance state on the website that is terrifying when you actually internalize what that means. We did a story last week. There were 4 sheriffs in a county, Gwinnett maybe, north of Atlanta. 4 different sheriffs that got terminated because they were using these systems to stalk people and to basically make their lives hell. It is very invasive technology. It's not just taking a picture of your license plate. There are a number of other software components that you can add to it. They don't just have the cameras. They have a program a system called Raven, which is their version of the Shot Spotter. You remember that, right?
Yeah, that was the program. If there's a gunshot, right, it let the cops know basically where it was. It would triangulate it. And I know during the Kenosha unrest, for a lot of the listeners out there that are new, they believe it or not, there's some people that might not even know that I was involved now because it's been so long in the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. They knew that there was additional shots fired after Kyle gave up his gun. Like, there was a lot going on there, right? And so that because of those shots, those like shot microphones, they know where shots are taking within a certain radius, right? So so it allows them to react and send law enforcement to areas where, allegedly gunfire is going, or fireworks, or whatever it perceives as a gun, right?
I watched a video and showed it on AM Wake Up a couple of weeks ago of a guy who was in his driveway revving his bike, his motorcycle. And that caused a shot spotter system to go off. And the cop thought he was approaching someone, according to Shot Spotter, who was firing a fully automatic rifle. And it was his motorcycle engine. And very fortunate that the guy had what turned out to be a fairly humorous encounter over it, because he's like, buddy, it's my bike. I'm out here in flip-flops. Like, what are we doing? And the guy's like, oh, well, I thought, I thought you had a good thing you weren't doing anything suspicious when I pulled up, or I would have taken you out. Because if you're a law enforcement officer responding to, there's a guy with a fully automatic weapon firing it, you're probably going to be a little bit freaked out when you pull up.
Well, that's just the case, and I can understand in those type of situations you should be on high alert. But it seems like a lot of law enforcement these days are very skittish. It's like, why are you even in the job if you're scared that I passed you on the right at 15 miles an hour? Or, like one time I got pulled over for going 5 over in the city of Elm Grove, and the cop had his hand on his gun. I'm like, why do you have your hand on your gun? Like, I'm not I'm not dangerous. Like, and he's like, I don't know that. And I'm like, okay, like those are the wrong type of people that need to be in law enforcement, right? I remember, what was it? I'm trying to remember. There was like a old Western police show I used to watch. What is it, with Ed Griffith, I believe, where the kid sneaks into the jail and has a tape recorder and records a conversation between the lawyer and the guy who committed the crime, and he admitted to committing the crime to the lawyer, and he's showing the police officer saying, hey, look, we got him, here's the evidence, and he's like, the law can't use that type of evidence, and he deletes it before even listening to it. Whatever happened to those days? Bro, I gotta tell you a funny story. So when I was 18, and I went to Bible camp one summer, and I met this girl. She was a blonde. I was crushing after her. And the reason why this is funny is, and it's not so funny, it could have ended up very seriously, is her phone number was 529-1126. And for some reason, the 911 was the only thing that registered when I dialed her number. Like 529-1126, and it was 911, and it's like, hello, this is 911. I hung up the phone. The cops pulled up to our front driveway. It just so happened that my dad was cleaning his shotgun in the garage.
Uh-oh.
Right? The cops walk up, and they're like, there was a 911 call from here. And he's like, no, I don't know. Like he's talking to him. He's like, I don't think so. And then I came out and I explained to the cop what was going on. But dude, imagine, fast forward to this modern day, if my dad was cleaning his gun and a cop walked up. I don't know. The wrong cop. It could have ended pretty serious, because these guys come in like twitching, like they're shaking half the time. And I don't understand what it is. Maybe their husband or wife is bitching at them all day. Maybe they're in the wrong job. But when people are that uptight, maybe they need a day fucking off. I just don't get it. But instead, they're having access to this flock camera stuff, man. Like I just showed on the screen. This, the judge just granted a restraining order against an ex-cop who tracked an ex with flock cameras. Well, of course that's going to happen. You ready? And I'm sure, and it's happening all over the place. So if you're dating a cop, the odds are they're flocking you.
Well, I don't want to say guaranteed, but yes, and this is being proven over and over again. It's not as if the cameras are just set up on roadways either. This is private parking lots. Flock is going into communities, and they've been doing this with license plate reader technology for years, where they're appealing and lobbying to individual HOA board presidents. Hey, can we put a camera up here in areas where the city council has terminated contracts and citizens have brought awareness to the thing and gotten rid of them? They'll come back in with flocks and put them up in Lowe's parking lots, in Home Depot parking lots, on private property, because then it's not on a public roadway and you can't petition your local government to have them removed.
It's wild to think, bro, 30 years ago, if we would have been was it like William Cooper? He's like, they're putting cameras on the street corners, and they're like, oh, shut up, Will Cooper. That would never happen. We wouldn't do that. And if the government says we would not do that, the odds are they probably definitely would do that. And they're getting mobile. Things are getting wireless now, Steve. So could they put flock cameras on the vehicles? Could they put them just anywhere, just overnight? They just plop up. You just stick it to something. Ring doorbells. Are handing out ring doorbells like mad. I didn't even get into the Poikonen story. I don't know if you've heard about this Poikonen story, where they used Poikonen basically to map the whole world.
Oh, yeah.
All the video, because you got to get your little Pikachu dude. I don't know. Don't make fun of me. I never played Pokemon Go. I was of the Ninja Turtles, Transformers generation, and I caught the end of Magic the Gathering. We had Dungeons and Dragons. We didn't have Pokemon Go with the phone where we take pictures of things and we capture, unique items. But they're mapping the whole world using these games that kids use. The cops have access to these data centers, and it's weird because they're in collusion with all the alphabet agencies. There used to be kind of like a floodgate with your local local sheriff where he'd protect you from a lot of this. Like you'd see the old movies, was it Die Hard, where the local sheriff's like, fuck the feds, and the feds are like, fuck the sheriff. And usually one or the other was good and trying to help them out, and it usually wasn't the feds. The feds in the movies were always painted as bad people. And I'm not saying feds are bad, but historically the idea of federalization is very anti-American.
No, you're absolutely right. Go,
Yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So like now we have it, and it's just like, yeah, well, you're gonna go ahead and get all this cool military equipment. You know what? You know what else we'll do? We'll give you some MRAPs. We'll give you some Bearcats. Well, and fuck, well, you just look like military, and people will respect you. And that's where we're at, where these guys are all juiced up. They're all on like testosterone like builders. They're like, I don't know, man. They're just, something's wrong with law enforcement. I've been covering cops for a long time, and I don't know what it is about this new class, including with ICE, what we saw with ICE. Like, don't get me wrong, there's some issues with immigration in our nation, and there's an open border where, you can have terrorists come across, and that's no problem, right? With one presidency, now it's like a big deal, and we're real bipolar and everything. The United States is just not real consistent, but these cops now, they seem to be very trigger happy. Like, they don't fear accountability of their actions. It wasn't about worrying about this person might have a job, or this person might have a family, or if I beat this guy up because he's smoking a doobie in my state, I could ruin his life. It's just a fucking plan. They don't have that ability anymore. They're like putting you on the ground, wrestling you for minor infractions. They're coming after you. Now they got Flock, bro. They'll know where you're going, how many laws you broke in the past. You like looking up all your past driving records, see if you're honest, dishonest. Look at your social credit score, see what the government rates you. Are you an honest person? Are you not an honest person? And before they even talk to you, you won't even have a chance.
Well, that's the whole point. The whole point is to eliminate the human element from all of this. So you were kind of talking about it a little bit before I hopped on, but just, retroactive tickets showing up 2 weeks later down the road saying, oh, you didn't come to a complete stop at this stop sign. That's $250. Oh, you went through a red light. That's $400. That's what Australia, by and large, uses their flock systems for. It's a revenue generating thing where any minor infraction, every minor infraction is now monetized, and the state will use that as a way to leverage a little bit more of your income from you. And to think that it won't happen here is ridiculous, because at the beginning of the year, San Francisco and a number of other cities piloted their speed camera programs where, even if you're going a couple miles an hour over the speed limit, you're subjected to a ticket.
Man, I'm telling you, think about this. Like, if you piss off the wrong cop, he can make your life a living hell. Like, he could access everywhere you're going. Every time you hit the ATM, let's say if you associate with somebody who is formerly a criminal, whatever it might be, to have access without a warrant. Because a lot of this is public data. I wonder if we can get access to this. Like, yeah, let's just check out where everyone's flocking, But like,
are you familiar with Ben Jordan?
No.
The YouTuber? There's a guy, 2 N's in BENN, Ben Jordan, YouTuber. He discovered that you can hack into these flock systems, almost without even trying. They do nothing to protect their data. Not that I'm saying that I want the ability for the public-private partnership companies to have more securely locked down all of our information. That's not what I'm saying. I am saying it's built poorly, and that just about anybody with rudimentary computer skills can get into these. He highlighted that there were cameras that were pointing inside elementary school gymnasiums. There's cameras that are pointing directly at swing sets and playgrounds and stuff like that have nothing to do with public roadways. This is just a massive surveillance dragnet. If you go to the deflot.org site, this is eyesonflock.com.
I'll pull it up right now.
Eyes on Flock will give you the actual hit rate for all of the vehicles that are being scanned. At this time, less than 3% are yielding any sort of a result vis-a-vis this is a bad guy, or this is a stolen car, or this is a potential kidnapping or anything like that. If you screw up at your job, yeah, and that's it right there at the hourly hit rate is what we're looking at. Today it's 1.18%. So they're tracking millions upon hundreds of millions of vehicles, right?
Well, AI is, right? They had like an AI god that's just like, do. We're going to grab all this data. Some of it might be right and wrong, and we're going to go ahead and absorb it. And what does it mean? There's a hot hit list. You're right. 1.18%.
The number that is continuously ticking upwards there in the upper left-hand corner, that's the estimated amount of vehicles that are being tracked while you're on the website, just while you're visiting the website.
20 billion plate reads a month across 49 states. 20 billion. That means just about every American has been flocked.
Yeah. And this is the neat part. There's a company called Leonardo that has a product called Signal Trace. And this is the Bluetooth, RFID, audio, anything with a signal. It is logging it, tracking it. And in all of these systems, from the moment your vehicle gets its first picture taken, that information stays with the company for at least 30 days.
You know, if they say 30 days, that's why they need these AI data centers they want to build everywhere. Where else are they going to store your lifetime of data? They'll be able to follow you. I mean, is it kind of cool to think that like my entire life will be recorded and that I could go back to it? Sure, if there wasn't this encroaching government that would do horrible things with it, but like, you know, but it's there to keep us safe, right, Steve?
Well, to the point to where Flock's CEO has said that if you're against this type of surveillance, you are probably a terrorist. I just got, and I had no intention of doing this. I had no idea it was going to happen. I made a routine tweet about, Flock being unnecessary and, and just spitting in the face of the Constitution. And the head of product for Elon Musk's X's Nikita Beer responded to this with some of the most blatant gaslighting I've ever seen. He got himself a community note. He got himself multiple community notes, one of them being, oh, hey, this guy was an angel investor in a company that is now owned by Flock. So Elon Musk's head of product has investment money in the surveillance state and is referring to it, Kristan, you're going to love this. Nikita Beyer, B-I-E-R. I'm not exactly sure how you pronounce the last name. He referred to Flock systems as municipal infrastructure.
Oh, so they're in bed with the government.
Yes.
So they get the same protections of the government. I wonder if this also includes them tracking people who go to Bohemian Grove in the Bilderberg group.
Do you think possible.
Do you think? I'm like, how can I use this for good? You know, at the end of the day, but like, if people could hack and get that access to information, that means nobody's safe. That means at any time, if somebody like let's say the CIA wanted to put a hit on you, they could go ahead and do that, and no one's gonna stop them. It's like they have the data of where you are at all times. They always have blackmail data on you, right? Let's say you're a pastor and you happen to go to the good old adult film store, right? God forbid you do that. They'll have that on you. Maybe you're cheating on your husband. They'll have that on you. Maybe you kissed somebody else when you got drunk once. They'll have that on you. Maybe you went to the marijuana dispensary in Michigan, which was legal, but all of a sudden you drove back to Wisconsin. Oh, that's not legal. All right. Maybe they don't know for sure if you bought anything that was illegal, but they know that you went there, and they could pull you over for that, I would think, but they would need, again, this comes down to pre-crime. Like they're not gonna be able to use the evidence, right, that they get on you because they illegally collected it, right? Some of it, right? And so if they pull you over and you go back and said, well, the flock camera showed him leaving the dispensary in Michigan, but he came across the border here and he got pulled for low air in his back tire, pulled over, we're going to go ahead and now you're screwed. You're a felon because they knew that and they were tracing you and tracking you. because you went there and then they pulled you over for a bogus reason. I mean, that's like a playground for revenue for the law enforcement, because they've been bitching about losing revenue for a while. They're like, Uber stole our DUI revenue. You know, we don't have money to pay the cops anymore. Well, they don't have money to pay the cops because of you and Agenda 21 and them redirecting all your local funds into things like sustainable development and smart growth. And they force you on those federal grants. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, unconstitutional checkpoints. Well, that's more money for the law enforcement. Let's do it. And as if you guys don't understand the whole danger of this whole UN Agenda 21 and sustainable development, it's getting control of our law enforcement and our sheriffs, because that's how they're going to strip our liberties and freedoms, because they're just getting paid to do a job at the end of the day. I've come to learn, as a guy who's covered over 250 protests and have dealt with law enforcement, by the way, never arrested. Okay. I just want to, yet. I might get arrested one of these days. Who knows? Hopefully not. God willing, and God bless, keeping, taking care of me. But like, there's a lot of good things to look at here and think about. How are they going to use all this data? What's it going to be used for, and how can it impact you? And the fact is they are going to have trash on you no matter who you are. And the question is I wonder how much of it will be used to track other police officers, because cops are involved in crimes. A lot of times it's the cops running that are knowledgeable or paid off for the trafficking rings. That was one of the things that we've heard before. Like, people are like, in small town, children are being trafficked. They go to law enforcement. Law enforcement doesn't want anything to do with it.
It happens far too often, and it's the thin blue line, I guess, is what really prevents any sort of accountability. Because at the end of the day, too, cops are going to stick up for other cops. And unless they're especially heinous, and unless the department can point to them as a complete anomaly and then distance themselves from that specific person, they usually just form rank around that person and go, look, no, the accident, tough job, whatever, blah, blah, blah. You won't do it. You won't come out here and do what we do. So how dare you tell us how we go about what we're doing? And that's usually enough to get you beyond a news cycle, which is all it takes for the average individual to forget about something.
Yeah, man, I don't know. It's just one of those things where the public just needs to really focus on. And it's not a left-right thing either. It's like, this is like an American constitutional right thing. Should our government have this kind of power? And of course, they're going to say, well, we would never abuse that. We are, good. We'll never cause any issues. But we know for sure these cops are already stalking their girlfriends, probably stalking the dudes that they're cheating on them with, amongst other things. And if you're that insecure that you got to be stalking people, coming all steroided out and freaking out on your girl, man, it's just sad to see the state of the way the surveillance state's going. It's everything that William Cooper and Alex Jones warned us about, and people want to really crucify those two individuals. But at the end of the day, they were right on so many different things, including the police state that we're really, getting into. Like, look at the idea of these AI data centers now, right? The AI data centers now are needed to collect this data, and they're trying to put them up all over the place here in Wisconsin. You know why? Because we have lots of water, Steve. Lots of water. And it seems like all the AI data centers that they're creating require large amounts of data. They're causing terrible pollution, and and the costs of this are getting passed on to the local citizens. These people are getting tax breaks. The electric prices are going up in those areas. The water bills are going up in those areas. And basically, the taxpayers are paying in a lot of shapes or forms for these AI data centers to be built. It isn't like they get shares of the company. No tax, like the government isn't going to give me money to build my Rundown Live empire, are they? And then I get it for free and I get to do and run with it and keep all the profits. But I guarantee you, if there's a loss, they're going to socialize the loss and capitalize the gains. That's how they always do it. A lot of people should get acquainted with that idea, because socialism and socializing the losses, well, that's how they do it. Oh, these banks are too big to fail, so we'll just bail them out. Who bailed them out? The American people. You and I did. But it's not like we get a stake in the company and in the bank and get residuals individuals every week. No, they just socialize the loss, and when they make the money, it goes in their back pocket. Damn it. So I want to play something very interesting I found out about these data centers, though, Steve. There's this video from Doug Seavey, who owns data centers, going around. And I don't know if you've seen this, but I want to get your thought on it. We're going to go ahead and play it here. This is Doug Seavey from Iowa data center owner talking about that water use claims by Google, saying that's the only way, is a BS claim. He actually owns data centers. Here it is. We're going to go ahead and play it for you guys.
And everything that Google is telling you is BS. My name is Doug. Suggested that I get put on some kind of a committee because I'm Palo's resident expert. I build data centers. I own data centers. I built the first private data center.
Are you guys getting the audio? Are you hearing that, Steve?
Everything that Google is telling you is BS. I have a data center right now that's running in Hiawatha, and I have been there 14 years and have never used 1 gallon of water. What Google isn't telling you is they don't want to use the technology because it costs more. They're going to burn through the water, and when it's done, and they don't care. And everything that Google is telling you is BS.
And there we have it. That's Doug talking about, his data center that he basically doesn't use, they don't have to build data centers that use water. Google is lying to us. Go ahead and, simmer down. The water is required. It's really it's the cheaper way to build data centers. So these companies that already have so much money, they don't know what to damn do with it. They got to still try to make more money by polluting the water. And these are the same people that are probably trying to push that great green agenda. And here when it comes to the dollar, they're like, oh, screw your water, screw your community. And in Wisconsin, they're trying to build these all over the place. And it's just going to kill the local environment the way they're doing it. And they don't have to build data centers that use water. It's just more expensive to do so.
Yep. And look, they tell you all the time in every conceivable way that they hate you and they want you to die. And then you're supposed to be like, oh, okay, well, I'm still cool with my, my money being stolen from me by the government so that we can subsidize your privatized profits and socialize the losses, which is that's what the public-private partnership is. The merger of the corporate state with very well-heeled, moneyed interests in the government in order to make it so that you, the average tax-paying citizen, have to foot the bill every time they screw up. And it's a very nice arrangement for them, but it's resulted in a $39 trillion deficit for the United States government. It's resulted in people that were paying $9 a gallon for diesel here in California. There was gas over $7, up to $8 in a couple of spots here in the state. That's all part of making sure that the public pays for whatever whims oligarchs have. And where the data centers are concerned, yes, it's true. You can power them by many other means and cool them by many other means other than water. But there's no evidence from any of these companies that they're willing to invest in the type of infrastructure that would allow for a thriving community of people. That's antithetical to their business model. What makes their business model run is all of us locked into a digital prison grid, fully complying or extracting whatever energy they can out of us if we fall out of compliance. This is, and it's one of the pervasive underlying foundations of the current crop of the United States government and all of the people that subscribe to Curtis Yarvin's ideology that are running around DC right now.
Well, right. And that's where where it goes with all of this. Like, at the end of the day, it's all about profit. It's all about data. I'm thinking that these data centers are really being made to develop our own subconscious prison here, bro, where they're going to download the consciousness into the AI computer, and they're going to say, oh, like the TV series Upload, you're going to live forever. Don't worry. We'll start educating the youth at a young level in their government curriculum that they only get to live till 32 unless they contribute to society more, and then they get to live forever in the digital world, and they'll just accept it because they don't know what the real world is like after everyone starts getting educated through the process for years and years and years, and all of a sudden the old oligarchy is going to die, and kids at 32 are going to just be uploaded and beamed into the computer system that's going to be built by us, by our taxpayers, to develop our own transhumanist prison digitally. Not saying that you'll live in the digital world ever, but that's what they'll sell it as. This way you stop eating up all these natural resources. This AI data center is also going to be developed to control all the robots, bro. They need somebody to build these data centers so the robots can do everything for us.
True. I think we should probably start terming what they are a little bit more correctly. They're surveillance centers. That's what they are. You can, anything can be a data center. A floppy disk from 1983 is a center of data.
Yeah,
it is. What this is a surveillance facility, because you don't collect and store everything from everybody unless you plan on using it. Now, whether you're going to use that for targeted ads or you're going to use it to gang stalk a dissident, it's still a surveillance center. Like no, one extreme to the other.
Well, 100%. And that's what fusion centers, right? Back in the day, we'd hear about the fusion centers. So that to me is wild in of itself. But like, where does it go? Does it lead into this like this dystopic world like the Christians used to believe, the mark of the beast? They're going to lock Christians up and pull out the guillotines like those old sci-fi-esque horror movies about the rapture in the 1970s, Left Behind, and Image of the Beast, and Prodigal Planet. Like that's really kind of what it feels like, is that they're preying on this idea that there's a roadmap written and they can use it because people are already programmed, and they're just allowing it to happen. It's just okay because it is prophesied in their Bible, and so we should just go ahead and allow these things to happen. And it's crazy to me to think that the religious, theological people are like, yeah, that's
here.
Real.
Wow. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Was I there?
Yeah. Well, maybe you disappeared from me for a moment there.
Yeah, I think I did.
Were you getting attacked by the spy centers manipulating the audio there? Oh, there we go again. Steve is cutting out. Wow.
Huh.
Yeah, you were cutting out. I'm telling you, this show, like, we might not have independent media awards like Steve, but the government seems to really like to hack my broadcast as much as possible here. And I'm telling you, Steve, whenever we talk truth and whenever it's a topic that is very interesting, we're always getting haggled. Like, things like this happen. And Steve is just completely cut out now. Steve is now... Oh, there he is. He's back. Holy cow, Steve. I'm telling you, dude, this only happens on the Rundown Live. Like, I shouldn't say that. It happens on a couple other broadcasts. But we want to live forever with transhumanism, but we can't even get the podcast to work.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough sell. It's going to be a tough sell.
Well, we sure got the surveillance systems that are gonna like bring about the end times, because Christians are already programmed to believe that the end times are coming and that there's gonna be such a thing as the Antichrist. You know, you got Peter Thiel out there talking to everyone about the Antichrist while he's basically running some kind of like billionaire mafia aspect of things, just taking over everything. But it's interesting because I think it's the programming that they want to run with. They're developing this crazy like surveillance state that's almost biblical, like those old creepy Christian movies I was talking about, A Thief in the Night, A Distant Thunder, Image of the Beast. If you've never seen them, you should watch them, because that's the key programming that Christians had, is that like at the end times, they're going to just disappear because God's going to save them from all this torment and tribulation. So why not let the world go to shit, because it's prophesized, that's what we believe in, and God's going to save us in the end. And if you don't believe that, you're a bad Christian, but it doesn't really save any of that in the Bible per se. It can be interpreted in so many different ways, but essentially they're brainwashed to believe in this ideology, and it seems like they're the multinational corporatists, these secret societies, all these different groups that might be involved want to steer us down the road where Christians are like, yeah, I know guillotines are coming because it was in some 1970s creepy horror Christian movies, and, we're going to go ahead and just run with that. And when all reality is, all it does is develop complacency and put you under government control, because that's exactly where they want you. If we were going to allow the New World Order to happen, we should just let Germany win in World War II. But that's not the case. We fought it. I had family that died in the concentration camp, my great-grandfather. So, it's like one of those things. You got to fight your evil. You got to fight tyranny. You got to fight back on these flock cameras. You got to fight back on these AI data centers peacefully, of course. I'm not saying violently. I'm not saying anyone should go and melt and take down flock cameras now, because that would be a very bad thing, right? We don't want any harm or horrible things to happen. But this is like a real conversation. These are the things that people have been talking about for the last month and a half since I've been off the air, kind of just covering and doing reporting and being out there, that are really taking off and people are interested in. Did you see the whole MyPillow thing? The whole MyPillow guy getting acquitted for all his claims of election fraud. So was there election fraud, or was there not election fraud? Let's go ahead. I'm going to play this video. Check this out, guys.
Here it is, everybody. This is the second one now. Remember, the evidence, the $5 million challenge got overturned last summer, and they said Mike was right. This is all about the voting machine evidence. And now yesterday, if you don't see it in the news, they did one article out there from Law and Crime. Dominion dropped the lawsuit against Mike Lindell and MyPillow. That was it yesterday. So, and I just want everybody to know it doesn't mean anything that I'm going to stop fighting these voting machine companies to, it was a nice gesture, but we are going to go, we're all in to get them, get rid of them, get to paper ballots hand counted. And here I'm going to announce right now, it should be within the next half hour. We're going to be posting on Lindell TV, everybody. It's 800-page historical drop of the voting machine evidence. This has never been seen before. A lot of it we have bits and pieces were out there. This has been compiled over the last 5 years. This will be right here on Lindell TV. It'll be posted, like I say, in about 20 minutes. We're doing a press release on it, and anyone that ever tells you then, Vanessa, that ever says, oh, there's no evidence, this is like a library. It's a historical library with 500 and some, articles and 100% evidence that back each thing up. This was actually part of this given to the president when he was told by, when he walked off that's reporter a few weeks ago, and he re-truthed it. So it's a very exciting day. We're going to tie in, all this stuff going on. And then, but it is people, it is a relief for me that I don't have to, MyPillow, which never did anything when Dominion sued them for $1.3 billion with a B, everybody. And my employees had to sit and worry about that because their CEO is out there practicing his free speech. And so this is a big relief. So we got 2 down. We are also appealing. The appeal just went out. It'll go out today. The Colorado case that MyPillow won a year ago. Vanessa, you were there. MyPillow won, and this is the last piece of that where we're putting in the appeal, and hopefully they rule on that very fast. It seems like the voting machine companies are falling like dominoes here. And then we have the last one you'll see in the news, Smartmatic here in Minneapolis. That's like a parked car. It's sitting there because if everybody remembers, the judge made a ruling before even going to trial that I defamed them, and then a week later it came out that Smartmatic is in fact committing crimes with their company, with their voting machines and against other countries, and that'll, a lot of that'll be coming out too. But that was funny with that one because I'm going, okay, a week after this judge makes this ruling here in Minneapolis, it all comes out that, yes, it's a criminal organization, basically. It's like I defamed the mafia, right? I figured it'd be like my cousin Vinny going, okay, in light of the new evidence, case dismissed. But according to my lawyers, that's now how it is. It can just sit there like a parked car, and, judges can sit on it as long as they want or indefinitely.
We've known for a long time that elections can be rigged and might be rigged, but Mike Lindell has always kind of seemed like a used pillow salesman to me. I mean, he might mean well, might have a good heart on things, and I wasn't sure because I've been like back and forth on this election fraud thing with the 2020 election, right? I think when new evidence comes out, you need to look at your your synopsis and take that in and readjust what you believe. Otherwise, you'll be constantly tribal and you'll never be wrong, right? Because you'll have that confirmation bias. The data I see agrees with what I have to say. But in this case, why would Dominion, who hates Mike Lindell so much, drop a $1.3 billion case against him if he was really wrong and they really wanted to go after him? I mean, you saw what they did to Alex Jones. Why does Mike Lindell get a get out of jail free card unless he's right about something? But what is it that he's right about? Is it right that there's fraud, or is it right that he has a freedom of speech? What is it? Why is it that you think that Dominion dropped a $1.3 billion lawsuit against a guy who actually has probably money to pay him out?
In this particular instance, I think it's because Dominion and likely Smartmatic too don't want to take it to the disclosure stage. They don't want to take it to where they would have to respond to a legal team's request for specific documentation. And whether that proves large-scale fraud or even fraud on a somewhat localized level, it's going to then become its own life form. And I'm not a betting man. If I was a betting man, I'd put some money on they don't want it to get to disclosure, rather than they think that Mike Lindell is going to be able to win on First Amendment grounds. That could be it too, but in either case, Lindell's legal team would have the 100% right to demand all kinds of information and subpoena all kinds of witnesses. And that's usually the part in a lawfare-based trial, right? Because if you're suing Mike Lindell, even if he's completely wrong, you want him to shut up, you want him to go away. And so you throw a $1.3 billion number at him. This is how much we're trying to extract from you. People who are just running their mouth
crashed into the side of the city's tallest skyscraper. Photo.
They might not, it's an intimidation tactic that's backfiring. That's what I think.
Well, I agree. I think it's very interesting that they would call the bluff, and when somebody has money to protect themselves, now he probably could sue them for losses, amongst other things. And it'll be interesting. The media really hasn't given any coverage, but a couple more stories before you leave us today, Steve. I wanted to go over and get your thoughts on. Did you see this one? Scientists mull controversial plan. Remember, there's those conspiracies, I think in the 90s, that the government discovered a way to control hurricanes. People believed that was possible. I think it was Hurricane Katrina. They're like, oh, the government can control hurricanes, and they caused Hurricane Katrina. And everyone's like, nah, that couldn't happen. Well, check this out in the news, Steve. It's a scientist mull controversial plan to steer hurricanes. What? I thought they can't control the weather. I thought geoengineering was a scam. There is no thing. In a study, scientists suggested that small, carefully timed cloud seeding operations applied days before the peak of an extreme weather event could have shifted the track of Superstorm Sandy in 2012 by about 300 miles to miss New York City. So they want to control and steer hurricanes. And what makes you think that they're not doing it already?
Well, nothing makes me think that. I am very convinced that not only does the technology exist, it's existed for at least 50 years. It's been reported on quite thoroughly. It's been dug deep on by Dane Wingington and a bunch of other fantastic researchers. And the people who have worked on these projects have hinted at the Oh yeah, we accidentally triggered an earthquake. Oh, we accidentally pushed this storm over here. Oh, there was a little bit too much of ingredient A in the batch, and Dubai flooded for a week. Like these are like, I don't know about commonly, but frequently reported on things from the people involved in it. We were watching a news report from 1983 on AM Wake Up this morning, where one of the attached scientists to a heart project was discussing them accidentally triggering an earthquake. With a hurricane, we saw just a couple of years ago, a hurricane make landfall in Florida and take out a town in North Carolina, hundreds of miles away, through over the top of mountain ridges and stuff like that, and completely destroy a community where it just so happens that the superfine quartz needed for very specific components of the digital prison is mined. And the town wasn't putting up with it, and the town was starting to push back against it, both with the crystal, the superfine quartz, and with lithium. And both of those communities were leveled, and now it's a land grab for all of the mining concerns. So, yeah, I think you could use the technology to steer a hurricane away from New York City, but if you can steer it away from, you can also steer it towards.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you full-heartedly. It's a military weapon at the end of the day. It's plausible deniability. Oh, we didn't steer that hurricane, but, through HARP, a rural research program, through cloud seeding, amongst other things, it's completely possible. Here's another great story for you, Steve. Electric plastic could merge technology with the body in future wearable and implants. Finding ways to connect the human body to technology could have broad applications in health and entertainment. A new electric plastic could make self-powered wearables, real-time neural interfaces, and medical implants that merge with our bodies to make it a reality. While there have been significant progress in the development of wearables and implantable technology in recent years, most electronic materials are hard, rigid, and feature toxic metals. A variety of approaches for creating soft electrics has emerged finally. So now we have electric plastic, bro, and it's going to merge with you. The cops are going to get you. They're going to put a electric plastic handcuffs on you, and all of a sudden you're going to be timid because they're going to be pumping the opiates right into your body electrically. They won't be a drug per se, but it'll release those endorphins. All of a sudden you'll be limp, and they'll be like, all right, I'll do whatever you say, officer,
Yes, not only that, but I mean, we've been reporting on the concept of the human battery for years now, and this is one of those implements that makes something like that a reality. Now, you have a bunch of kids who are booing AI CEOs and tech CEOs at graduation ceremonies because the tech CEO is up there bragging about how he made sure they'd never have a job. And so I understand the animosity, but we're watching a generation of unemployed men and women being created potentially. And if that happens, you've got to pacify them. You can't have a whole bunch of, historically speaking, fighting age males that are unemployed because they typically organize and do something about that. And so if you can get the electric plastic in them, and that can power their video game time, then they can spend their entire lives in a virtual world, not organizing and not trying to separate themselves from a technocratic oligarchy.
Wasn't there a movie about that came out in the late 90s where you just download yourself into a virtual world and then you think you're there, and then the whole like AI data centers were just really human powered AI data centers. I think that was called The Matrix. You know, it's funny because I talked to some people modern day who are in their 20s and 30s. There's people that have never seen The Matrix. They're like, oh, I don't know, I've never seen that. And it's like, how could you have never seen The Matrix? It's like writing on the wall. It's what's happening right now. And they're like, oh, okay, well, I didn't think I'd find it interesting. And it's like, dang. Well, people just want to keep their head in the sand, right? And it's still that way. It's crazy to me, the tribalism over the Donald Trump and the Jeffrey Epstein ideology. There's people that are now defending the pedophile Jeffrey Epstein because they know Donald Trump is preventing a lot of the data from coming out. That
Yeah,
blows
well,
my mind.
it just goes to show you that participating in politics at that level is no different than falling in love with a character on like Game of Thrones or freaking any other television drama, because it's the same sort of energy transference. It's the same sort of, you'll defend this person to the hilt because you love their character and you don't want to see their character written off of the show. And people have this identification, I don't know,
Dude,
exchange.
you hit it spot on, man. That's what it is. It's like a reality show, because that's what Donald Trump was. And you're trying to keep your character on the show and vouch for it. But I think that the GOP is going to come to a rude awakening, and it's intentional that they're going to get a hammering on this next election. And it's, above and beyond other things. But it's people are going. I saw Owen Schroyer get in a verbal argument in a debate over whether or not Jeffrey Epstein was a pedophile. And they had these two conservative individuals or prominent social media influencers saying, well, he's technically wasn't a pedophile. He's more of an adolescence file. He's more interested in the people in their children, girls in their adolescence. Although I would say that I don't know what 8-year-old is, but that's as low as I heard at the Ghislaine Maxwell trial while I was there for 5 weeks covering the trial. They mentioned children as young as 8, and I'm sure it doesn't stop there, by the way. Considering that there's 100 terabytes that went missing during the Biden administration, this kind of goes on to show you that no matter who's in office, they're colluding to keep this data secret. I think mostly because it is tied into government agencies like the CIA. And it blows my mind how similar the Epstein story is to the Franklin controversy and scandal, the Finders cult. Like Derek Bros and I were talking about how the Finders cult were going to bring the children to a prominent camp in New Mexico for the gifted, and I'm like, Derek Bros, could that be Zorro Ranch? Because I was like, when did the Finders stop being an organization? In 1992. When did Jeffrey Epstein buy Zorro Ranch? 1992. Oh, well, I mean, it's a coincidence. We don't know for sure yet because we have to look at the paperwork. We don't know where the Finders were going to take the kids because obviously the CIA came in and whitewashed the papers, and the cop said, you can still read the original cop story about the Finders cult who were busted and had a bunch of disheveled children that they had take videos of, and they said that they had evidence of the children being penetrated, the doctors said, amongst other things, and the CIA came in and whitewashed it. It makes me believe that the whole thing is a CIA operation. That's why I'm really interested in what's happening tomorrow, bro.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Look, it seems to be pretty clear evidence of a very long-running child exploitation, blackmail operation going back to basically around the time of when America became a corporation in the late 1870s, early 1880s. And you've got all of the same, families and historical figures that have played a role throughout. The Bronfmans are huge in this. The Bronfman family, not just with the original, organized child exploitation blackmail network, but going all the way through the Navidic or the NXIVM cult and things like that. That was Claire Bronfman. The Rothschild family is integral in all of this. The nexus of the American crime syndicate, right? Lucky Luciano and the Sicilian mob shaking hands with and becoming partners with Meyer Lansky and the Jewish mafia, forming the American crime syndicate. That's the backbone for a U.S. governmental child exploitation, trafficking, and blackmail network that has proliferated for over 100 years.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things. And, when you start talking about the satanic ritual abuse, and I've been interviewing MKUltra survivors on this broadcast. If you guys haven't gone back, you need to go to our Rumble, the Rundown Live, and check out some of those interviews. Just the craziness of their stories, the cannibalism, the abuse, the mental abuse, some of the experiments of telekinesis, remote viewing. There's 162 different branches of MKUltra that were out there, but I can't believe that they've ended. I have to think that Tyler Robinson might have had MK Ultra satanic ritual abuse or ritual abuse. It doesn't even have to be satanic, because all you need is a ritual abuse to create these Manchurian style candidates. Those are the kind of things I'm interested in hearing, to see what will happen and come out in this congressional hearing tomorrow, if anything. I'm going to go ahead and cross my fingers, but I'm going to tell you, I'm concerned. I think it could be a big nothing burger, but we'll be live at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, 8 a.m. your time tomorrow, with the live coverage of the MK Ultra congressional hearings. It'll be interesting. Layla Decker commented about Owen Schroyer, and that they have no clue that what Epstein was up to. People, these dummies, can believe the official narrative on everything, and some people do. They don't question everything, and you should question everything. But at the same time, people who are an echo chamber and have no evidence to support their theory, and they just want to believe things on hypothetical, correlations, that's dangerous as well. It's important to have that data. It's important to think of those things. Do we have proof that they were like selling adrenochrome and all those other things? I don't think there is any absolute proof. There's a lot of cliche words, obviously the whole pizza thing and everything else that went on during the whole, what was that? The John Podesta leaks by WikiLeaks, amongst everything else. There's a lot of speculation out there. But I do believe that, we know that Epstein was an arms dealer. Did you see that Palm Beach Pete was on Alex Jones?
I did not. I saw that Palm Beach Pete was on Matan Evans' show, and that was absolutely hysterical. Do you know who that kid is?
No. You got to tell me about this.
Matan is like, I don't even know if he's 18 yet. He might be, but he's just like a troll-like character. And he's got to be an industry plan or something. He got really big online as a teenager, 14, 15 years old. And all these celebrities come through. And he puts them in like a white, completely undecorated room. They got little plastic tables that they're sitting at. He's got a couple of friends that do the show with him. They never talk. They just dress stupid and like mess with the guest. And Palm Beach Pete was on Matan Evans' show the whole time. Matan's like, so you're Mossad, are you willing to tell people that you're actually Jeffrey Epstein? Are you a clone? That kind of thing. And the guests try to straight face it, or they try to mess with him back, and it never works. The best person I've ever seen handle Matan was John Kiriakou, the CIA torture whistleblower.
And Palm Beach Pete is just a pro at it. He's just like, no problem, I'll roll with this. He's like running for mayor because he wants to bring New York water down to Florida so they can have New York style pizza because it's in the water. He's trolling at such a level. And then they had an issue with his DNA test or something like that. That was viral. That was recently in the news. I don't know if you know that he had to submit a DNA test, and there was a problem with it now. And so they're saying he might not be able to run for mayor. Like, what happens if he is like Epstein's clone? That would be weird. I'm not saying that I know what's going on there. I know as a person who's was a key witness or key coverage of the Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein trial that has covered this kind of stuff extensively. I think that it's important to realize that when we look at this and this stuff that happens, like, it's wild what could be really going on with all this data. Steve, it's kind of scary to think about, but will it ever come out? Will we ever know the truth? We've already seen that they'd rather bomb Iran than let the truth out about the Epstein files, and they'd rather spend what's crazy to me is that they've made 4 arrests already about this fucking swamp pool in front of Capitol Hill, but they haven't arrested one person on the Epstein files, Lester. Done even like interviews and interrogation. None of that. None of that. No FBI research whatsoever. Nobody's been held and arrested based on these claims in the United States. All over the world, people are getting dethroned, but not in the United States. Donald Trump finds it more interesting to arrest people because they're complaining about the pool in front of their satanic Luciferian obelisk there of the mystery religion is being a swamp, and they're carving out like paper with knives, and we'll arrest those people. But the people who are really involved in this pedo ring, not so much. And it makes you wonder why the complacency. And there's people out there that are going to argue, well, there's no proof of Donald Trump's being involved in any serious crime. Well, I mean, you had to know these people are that kind of people and those kind of corrupt people. So why would you even associate with them? Like, right, why would you meet with them? All that kind of stuff. But Steve, I got to tell you, It's been a crazy and fun show, and I want to give you a couple minutes here. We got about 13 minutes left to really talk about some of the things that were important to you on your broadcast today in AM Wake Up, and let our listeners know where they can find out more about you. But before we do that, I got to ask you real quick, do you know who this person is in the picture with me? Give me a second here so I can go ahead and add you to the screen. Do you know who this guy is, Steve?
He looks incredibly familiar, and I'm going to feel like an idiot when I say I can't put a name to it.
Yeah, that's Mike Herrera from MXPX.
That's right. Okay. Nice.
Because I know you like punk rock too, right? If I remember right.
Yes.
Yeah. So I bumped into Mike Herrera in Milwaukee a couple days ago. So for listeners that don't know, we had Stubby Pandov off. We were doing Music Mondays for a while till I ran out of musicians for a little bit. We'll bring it back. But we had Michael Graves, Stubby Pandov from Lucky Boys Confusion, a reggae ska punk band, and then we had Leonore from Five Iron Frenzy. So I was at Lucky Boys Confusion, and then I bumped into Mike Herrera. I guess he's playing bass for Goldfinger now. John Feldman. It makes sense. John Feldman got millions of dollars. He's just hiring the best. So why wouldn't you hire Mike Herrera? And he rocked it on stage. Goldfinger, which is punk and ska, rocked it on stage. But it's pretty cool. So I wanted to share that with the listeners. I got to talk to him. And I was like, Mike, you remember that show 30 years ago? I did that. I was like, because, you got to show him that you're a little bit of an old school fan. And I was like, there's 50 people there. I saw you, 90-pound Weston value pack. And he's like, I don't remember, bro. And I'm like, that's okay. I don't remember 10 years ago. But back to AM Wake Up. I just want to share that with you because I know you love punk like I do.
That's rad, man. That's awesome.
No, it's cool. I always get to meet these people. And as you know, I worked in the music industry. So, I have my little ins and opportunities. And when I do, I try to kind of, make the most of it and get my friends in on it. I was there with my buddy Joel Maskey, used to play in a punk band called Avenues that did Lollapalooza as well. So it was a fun, I don't get out often, but it was a fun event at Summerfest in Milwaukee. That being said, bro, what has been on your mind on AM Wake Up the last, couple of weeks here? What have you guys been really diving into?
I mean, we really have been taking a look at the rising response to people being more and more educated on the surveillance centers and on the flock systems and things like that. There's an organic resistance to these things because at least, in our cultural memory, we understand that our Americans are hardwired to resist this kind of surveillance and resist this kind of intrusion into our own personal lives. It was pointed out again by Nikita Beyer, the Twitter head of product, who got in a fight with me online over the weekend, that lots of countries have this technology. Yeah, well, lots of countries don't have the First Amendment. Lots of countries don't have the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment. All of these things are being violated on a daily basis by private actors who have lobbied the government, bribed the government in order to be able to put this invasive, unconstitutional technology absolutely everywhere. I always get accused of being a Luddite. I do a show on the internet like 5 days a week, and then 7 days a week I'm putting out content on my channels. I'm not anti-technology. I am pro-privacy for the individual, pro-transparency for the state. They hate that. And when the exact same people that we were talking about earlier, who are connected to these pedo networks, who are in the Epstein files, when they're the ones advocating all of the spyware, you can guarantee that they're not going to be using it in your best interest. It's easy to resist this stuff. It is. For the most part, you don't need to carry your smartphone around with you everywhere all the time. You can put it in a Faraday bag. You can I'm not suggesting that anyone go out and do this, but for like $45 you can get a handheld reciprocating saw with a metal blade on it. That takes care of a lot of the flock problems, but it doesn't until every time they go up they immediately come down. It's an 8mm socket, Kristan, that holds the actual unit.
No one should do this thing. We don't condone violence. We just want you to know those are the tools that people are using to do this horrible stuff. Like, first of all, like, government is encroaching on our liberties and freedoms, right? They shouldn't have the ability to access any of this data without a warrant. The problem is with FISA courts, amongst everything, there's been no accountability by the people. No one's been arrested. It's funny, they'll be quick to give you a ticket for messing with the pool in DC or going slowly around a cop, but they won't look at, hey, we're here to protect the Constitution. Maybe we shouldn't have flock cameras. Maybe we shouldn't have Stingray and Hailstorm technology and listen in to phone calls. Maybe we shouldn't have voice or eye of God technology that allows you to type into Social Security and find every person at every spot. It's funny, this whole flock camera thing and these data centers, it was all given to us. Was it in Batman? Remember the one with Heath Ledger where he's in his computer and he's trying to find the Joker, and it finds him and he's like, he's on the 23rd floor of this building because of all the street cameras. That was like programming that was done 25 years ago, which was a great movie, by the way. But they've been permeating all this data, and people are waking up and they are getting involved. And I am seeing change done on the local scale. But the thing is for about 30 years they'll go away. Well, guess what? Or even 5 years they'll go away. But then that shows its ugly face again. It's a non-stop battle, and they'll keep trying time and time again to get this stuff placed because they want a surveillance state. They want a global government. They want a global surveillance state with no privacy. All the corporations want it too, because they'll know what you buy, when you buy it, how you buy it, what you use it for, where you shop, when you shop, how they can advertise to you. That's how they'll sell it to you. But in the day, having a Farragut backpack, which is something I'm looking at for, as you know, I cover a lot of events for me and my friends. A Farragut backpack that has the ability to block all that stuff, the internet signal, all that stuff. I think it's important. It's just crazy now with facial recognitions. Somebody brought up the idea if we patent our face that and made it so that people could, or that government would have to pay you every time that they scan your face, that might be a solution. But I don't know if that is something you'd want to get into, to go in there and have them have to patent your face. Go in there, the software scans your face, and anytime their data center scans it, they have to either pay you or remove you.
Yeah, well, that's why Bob Dylan trademarked his name, right? That's why, Kanye West changed his name. That's why Prince changed his name to a symbol. It's so that it's one of the only ways that they can retain any quote-unquote self-ownership for the product that they're putting out. Well, guess what, friends and neighbors? You're the product all the time in an era of constant surveillance. Again, regardless of whether it's being used for targeted ads or you become a targeted individual, you're the product on social media. You're the product when you're holding your phone now. You're the product when you're in line for a movie, having your picture taken 15 different ways from Sunday just on one street corner. You're the product. So you deserve ownership of yourself as far as that goes. I don't know if you need to trademark your name, your face, what you need to do, but there's got to be multiple different ways that we can reverse this. Otherwise, we're waking up in every dystopian sci-fi film ever made, rolled together with Peter Thiel and Alex Karp's creepy little faces sweating on top of you, leering at you. That doesn't sound fun. Doesn't sound fun to me at all.
Yeah, think of this. Imagine if MK Ultra had access to all these different children and all these different people in their life. They'd be able to identify best candidates and go and scoop them up, and kids could go missing. They could kidnap people. There's a whole bunch of things that this could be used for that is absolutely horrible. And the idea of flock cameras, man, it's just awful. Steve, I got to tell you, man, that's some crazy stuff to think about today. And the world is going wild. And tomorrow's MK Ultra Day, on the Rundown Live. So we're going to be talking about that tomorrow. You're welcome to pop in if you want. But Christy Newton is going to be joining me. She's somebody who else is very interested in this idea of MK Ultra and abuse of minors and there's thousands of MK Ultra victims and satanic ritual abuse victims that are alive. And I've noticed a lot of them are going to TikTok. A lot of them are telling their story. The problem is like you mentioned, where is the accountability? And it's a lifelong fight. It started with UN Agenda 21. We were sold out by our grandparents before our parents, and it's just been a continuation, just fighting this new world order and this globalist takeover. And like I mentioned, Bohemian Grove is coming up, in a couple weeks. They're going to be meeting at the Grove and doing the cremation of care. Bro, I can't tell you how many videos I've watched of people sneaking into the Grove. It's the new thing. They're like over the and each one of those videos got millions of views. There's like probably like a half a dozen or a dozen people. One dude was like in the buildings. He was going through the buildings, you know, like the food court. I'm like, how are these guys not getting arrested or trespassing tickets or anything of that nature? It's almost as if they want this data to get out, almost like the Bohemian Grove might be selecting people to allow them to come in and do those things. Why else would they have not gotten a ticket? They're claiming by saying that it's an AI video, so none of this is real, like that protects them somehow. But you're seeing it, and it's like, does the Bohemian Grove want to take away the mystery by leaving these influencers on their ground knowingly and then allowing them to get away with it? I don't know what the deal is there, but I'm going to predict this right now. I wouldn't be surprised if that fake stone owl doesn't go the way of the Georgia Guidestone soon. Like somebody's going to do it, and I'm not advocating for that. Although I don't think Minerva is the god that we should all worship, but you have the right to do what you want. But you're doing it in secrecy, and you're doing mock human sacrifice with the cremation and care. But they're like knocking on the Minerva statue, the owl statue, for those that don't know, and they're saying it's hollow. And they're like going into the trees, and there's trees that are turned into bathrooms. The place is pretty unique and interesting, but man, it's pretty crazy to see how many people are just effortlessly sneaking in there all of a sudden.
I will say this to that, though. It's only those like 2 weeks in July that the Grove is locked down. I think we spoke about this. I used to live right up the road from it. And the girl that I was dating at the time, before her stepdad, before he passed away, he was carpenter over there, like handyman over there. And the vast majority of the time, it's either empty or there's like summer camps or something. Like it's not where the elite are gathering. So when they're not there, it's relatively easy to get onto the property. There's still, cameras and stuff like that, and eventually there will be some security that comes up on like a golf cart or something like. But only when the fellas get together do you have the blacked out SUVs everywhere and actual security around stuff like that. But when you get through here, when you come through, definitely get a hold of me. I'm like maybe an hour south.
Yeah, we're still working on trying to get a place to crash, but we could talk about that off key. We're going to be driving around. We're going to be hanging out with different people. I think we're going to visit Leo Lions-Agami. We might go visit Clyde Lewis over there in Portland. We're thinking about on the way back hitting Roswell, and I don't know if we'll hit Zorro Ranch, but there's some, conspiracy areas that we want to check along the way. We might do that. We're going to just take a long adventure, and it's not going to be just me. Oh, nice. But the person I'm going to be with asked that I don't mention them. So for like, they're worried that like there's going to be counter protesters. I'm like, dude, I'd love to get Antifa out at Bohemian Grove, because that's something we can agree on. It's just, people are dumb. People are so stupid and up in the tribalism that at the end of the day, they're worried about like, oh yeah, these people are going to come and hurt me because I'll be at Bohemian Grove. Well, they'll probably be there to hate on Bohemian Grove themselves, But I've never seen Antifa at Bilderberg or Bohemian Grove, surprisingly. No, not at all. Where the real Nazis are. So it's going to be interesting, brother. Thanks for joining us. Let our listeners know where they can find you when you're live, amongst other things.
Yeah, heck yeah. So AM Wake Up is live Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. on the West Coast. You can find that at AM Wake Up on Rumble, Substack, Odyssey, and BitChute, and at Ground Zero Plus. And then I do a show with Garland Nixon called Grift Busters every Wednesday. That's a lot of fun. I do a show Tuesday evening called Uncle Ted Talks, where we take a humorous look at industrial society and its future. And then every once in a while, like once a month or something like that, we're still doing Slow News Day with Glory Jones. That's on Sunday. Try to stay busy. Lots going on. And it's always a pleasure to hang out and talk to you. Thank you for having me on the show, man.
Yeah, man. I guess you're going after all the grift casts. There's a lot of those out there, dude. It's funny. There's people like me that I don't ever want I don't think I ever deserve a reward or anything like that. But I think that there's people like me that are just trying to genuinely get money to cover and do real documentaries. And there's people out there that are just making a killing off of people just doing super chats, talking bullshit, or being the left-right paradigm. And, it's interesting interesting because some of those people are people we grew up with in industry. They're doing great, and they just bought into the system because now they're making cash on it. And that's not been something I've ever done, although I can understand certain things bring in the money. So if you want to support Steve, how can people donate towards your cause?
Oh, just click on any episode of AM Wake Up, and there are direct donate links in each and every description. Yeah.
That being said, thanks, Steve, for joining us on the Rundown Live. You're listening to the Rundown Live on Ground Zero Plus. Check out Ground Zero Plus. The audio stream is there. AM Wake Up is also on Ground Zero Plus right before this broadcast. We'll see you guys tomorrow on the Rundown Live on Ground Zero Plus. You'll be joining us at noon. We'll be live at 10 a.m., though, Central Standard Time, which is 8 a.m. Pacific Standard, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard. That being said, Steve Poikonen, AM Wake Up Show, thank you for joining us, bro. I can't wait to talk to you, and we'll talk about go ahead, Bohemian Grove. We'll talk soon, brother. See you later.
You're listening to the Rundown Live with Kristan T. Harris. Your protection from deception. Your forecast into the future.